Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Dude, thanks for having me on. Pumped to chat.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into your story and your journey. We connected a couple weeks ago. Devin Sizemore, a mutual friend of ours, connected us, and obviously he is known as the ultimate connector. I can't tell you how many calls I've been on because of him. And I really liked your journey. I liked why you got to where you are. I like the way your mind works, and I was like, dude, you got to come on the show. And so here we are, excited to dive in. But why don't we start out with who is Chris today, and then we'll break down how you got there.
Sure. Yeah, today I'm look, I've been called a lot of things in my life so far. But one of my favorite things I'm called is dad. And so I'm a father, 3, 8, 7, and 4 year old. And we're homeschooling currently. We'll celebrate 12 years of marriage this year. And then, there's some business stuff in and out of there. I've been building companies, employing myself and others the last 15 years. And I, doing well enough to at least keep playing this game of business. So something like that. Those are some bullet points.
Yeah, man. So I have two step kids, and I think we touched on this a little bit when we spoke before. And they're 15, or about to be 15 and 12, and it is a journey, man. Being a parent is rewarding yet challenging, all in its own, right? And obviously, you guys are homeschooling, and that's a whole different bag of worms. And I think that might be the better way to do it, but I do not have the patience for that. So that's not happening in our household. But kudos to you, man. So what has that been like being a parent for the last 8 years now, and then continuing to add on? Like, what does that look like for you?
Oh, Justin, it's been wonderful. Every day is perfect, and dude, it's been insane. uh, yeah, but like overall grateful for it. I don't. We're just taking it year by year. I don't know that we'll do it like every year. We've even like tested like a micro school where they go twice a week. And so that honestly, we just have really at this kid like one kid at this point going once, maybe twice a week ish, for a handful of hours. Um, but what has been awesome about it is the conversations and the connection, and there's just so much relationship being built. There's a lot of space. When I travel, my whole family comes with me, or at least one or two kids come with me. And so, homeschool might look all right. Well, I'm speaking on stage today. It's public speaking class, and I'll bring them on stage with me, and not for the whole presentation currently, but 8 and 7 year old. But
After 5 minutes, they're like, "Dude, I'm out of here."
yeah, they're just like so bored. I'm like, quit showing what everyone else is feeling right now. I need them to at least pretend to pay attention to me. Like, no, but I'll bring them on, and so they've been, getting some reps. They've been presenting an idea. We started with just like one line, and now it's grown to more. And the last one is kind of a fun story. I was like, okay, so we got kind of like a little bit down, and it'll be a little bit different each time, but they're comfortable with that. So like, all right, here's the next step. You can handle more. Let's go. So it's like, when I call you up, don't come on stage when I call you up. What I want you to do instead, I want you to run in front of the front row and high five everybody, and then come on stage. And his eyes light up. My oldest, he's like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, okay, okay. And so he did it. And like, people aren't like kind of looking around. They're like, oh wait, he's in front of me. And then by the time he's like halfway through the row, people are understanding, anticipating, waiting for him to like high five him. And then he's just loving the attention
I
like
bet.
so much. And then he pops up on stage and does his thing, and he's like, that was awesome, Dad, but how come I only got to be on stage for so little time? And so I just want to keep things fun for them, and I want them to learn to connect and think and lead and do these things. And so I can share another impactful one that I get asked about often in here in a second as well. But after we got done with that, he's like, Dad, people were listening more that time. And I was like, you want to know why? He's like, yeah, when you give your attention to them first, they'll then reciprocate. But
Mm.
if you just go up there and you just talk at them, they don't care. And so when you acknowledge them first, and so that's why I had him go high five all the people. And I said, notice when I go up there, I don't just start talking about stuff. I'm like, I talk to them. I'm like, when we came back from lunch one of the time, I'm like, oh, what'd you have for lunch? Oh, you're still having lunch. Can I have some? You can just connect, acknowledge them. And it's like, oh, I'm being seen. And
Yeah.
so, there's just all those like little things. I'll say this. when we're traveling and, and listen, travel isn't like, oh, I don't go to events, Chris, or I don't go on, that's fine. Like, go take a road trip, for the day. Like, don't even stay overnight. Like, just road trip somewhere and go see a thing and have a day date, with your kid and then drive home. Those moments, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes in a car ride or on a plane ride of quality time on purpose, on mission, is worth at least 3+ hours of quality time at home.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know these things. These are things that smarter people told me. And I'm like, that sounds really inconvenient. I don't really want to figure that out. But they're like, but dude, it's totally worth it. So I did. And I'm like, yeah, it is inconvenient, but man, is it worth it. So yeah, like those are, yeah, it's hard. It's insane. It's crazy. But look, at the end of the day, and here I'll share that one other personal story if it's all right, and I'm gonna tie
Yeah.
it into business and how it's been a huge eye opener for me. If you can teach a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, 7-year-old, it's really informative of how to lead a team. Because it turns
True.
out we're all still kids, Justin. Spoiler alert. So look, in our house, my kids came home. They're playing with like a neighborhood friend. Dad, guess what? Dad. I was like, yeah, like what's going on? They're like, uh, the neighbor kid. I don't want to say his name. Anyway, the neighbor kid, he gets paid $10 a week allowance and doesn't have to do anything. He's so lucky. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a fun conversation. I was like, oh, is he? Why is he lucky? And this was actually like a really good 30 to 60-minute conversation, but to speed toward, just skip to the end and give you some bullet points. I was like, look, in our household, we don't do chores, but we do build skills.
Mm.
If we can't take care of ourselves, how are we ever going to be able to serve and take care of others? Also, fun side note, the kids love independence and want to feel accomplished. Oh, and as I'm like going through this process with them over the last 4 or 5 years specifically, I'm like, wow, I don't really feel any different. What am I striving to do? Build a business, lead, serve, take care of myself and my marriage and my family and the things the people that have been placed under my care and I'm blessed to serve and the market I'm called to serve. Like, I guess I kind of want the same thing. And guess what? It feels good when I can do that successfully with skills that I've acquired.
Mm.
Interesting. And so when my 3.5-year-old, some people look at me sideways. What do you mean your kids do laundry? I'm like, well, I'm just to be clear, I'm talking about laundry in the 21st century, meaning we throw clothes in a machine and push 2 buttons and it cleans it for us.
We don't even need to separate the whites anymore.
Just throwing it out there, like, was it hot or is it cold? It's the normal button and then it's the start button and we're good. You know what I mean? And so, drying, by the way, same process, throw it in there, push start, we're off to the races. And then the third and fourth steps to the SOP is sort and then put away. And what happens is they're like, I was like, dang, wait, the first try you got washing. Like, I suppose you can't even do the second step, drying. They're like, yeah, watch me. And they're like, oh, I did it. I did. They feel excited that they get to be a part of this thing and they get to own it and it's theirs. And we've generally, like, at least me, I can speak for myself, I feel the same way. And so now it's not like we do this for trash skills and dish skills and, pick up poop dog skills, and they get to grow and do these things. Now, they've also been running their own businesses, since they were 4 or 5. Their first one technically was when my oldest was 3 and we went door to door selling keychains. And that's a whole nother story, but you can kind of like, look, you see, hey, who are you today? Man, look, I'm definitely dad with 3 kids, homeschool. I drive a minivan, Justin. This is where life is at currently. But yeah, I mean, the business thing has been around longer, but man, it's a process that I didn't know I'd be this immersed in. And man, it has taught me like a ton as being a leader as well.
Yeah, I mean, when we first connected, I was like, dude, you're just an entrepreneur through and through, like top to bottom. You think 24/7 like an entrepreneur. You've been an entrepreneur for pretty much your whole adult life, and you're parenting like an entrepreneur, and you're raising
Guilty.
entrepreneurs, right? Like, it's literally like, this is the approach, right? I know that this system works. This is the result, and we can use this in every area of my life. How What was the draw to entrepreneurship for you? Like, how did you make that
Mm.
leap?
Yeah, the most honest answer is it's how I've been wired. I think it's something I've like ran from, or attempted to run from, and but I just uh kept getting pulled back into it because it's more of just how I think and how I navigate the world. So often ways I say this more concisely is I'm a founder by blood, not by title. And here's when I discovered that this was real for me. And usually this is useful and helpful to anyone listening, watching. If, hey, I want to do this, or I'm not quite sure. You're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life, or I'm doing this, but I don't know if this is fully aligned. This is one of those aligning stories that gives you, clarity as anyone's listening or watching to this. So um I look like, I'm assuming most men feel this way. Like, not being able to provide is one of my greatest fears. Like,
Yeah.
it is like crippling, and to continue to build. And most people think entrepreneurs are like risk prone. No, no, no. It's the opposite. They are the good one. And well, what about Richard Branson? What about that? Like, look, there's plenty of case studies where I get to the public eye, it looks like crazy risk. And I'm not discrediting any of these stories. What I'm mainly saying is the true best entrepreneurs that you hear stories about and you like, they are great at identifying asymmetrical risk,
Mm.
meaning the odds are in their favor, not against. And to the public eye, it looks insane, but the connections and the skill set and the resources they have access to, they see the value prop, and they have the courage and the drive and the makeup to be like, this is just logically what makes the most sense, which appears insane to most people. Okay. So groundwork laid, apply it to me. For me, this is just over 8 years ago. And all my greatest fears became a reality. 3 months before my first son is born, my insurance agency at the time gets shut down.
Mm.
I hadn't paid myself in a year, and I just took on multiple five figures in debt. Congratulations. I not providing for my marriage, my family. That I'm about to start. I'm like, great. I failed and I haven't even started yet. That feels fantastic. What I didn't realize at the time is, uh, faith is a big part of my life, and my greatest fear was just being exposed, because where I was going and what was being built in me and what I'm designed for, that had no space. And so that was a painful process, like taking that out. The only way to get that removed from me is to face it. It's to live in circumstance that tells me that all the things that I was afraid of are now becoming true. And so how do I respond to this, Justin? Well, I didn't really think about it, right? Options I could have, like, oh, I got to get a job now. I got to provide. I could tell myself a fear-based story. But what I did, well, I just responded. I was in fight or flight mode, or fight mode is what I ended up doing. And I started selling the furniture in my office. Came up with another like 6-7 grand in like a couple of days. And then I did what any logical person would do. Of course, start an online business with Facebook ads that you've never done before in 2016. I was like, Facebook does ads. You can get leads for only $1. I can find something to sell them. No plan. And oh gosh. So what my main punchline of this, there's so many details in that story, but the main punchline is, fortunately I got through it, started the ecom business. It was a grind for the first 6, 8, 10 months, but then I started having multiple 5-figure months, right? And then we did like over $10 million in sales in a 2-year period. And I was, building funnels and learning marketing. And I had so much, I had such a lack of skill in sales and marketing, in ops, in finance. And I don't come from this stuff. And I got immersed into it with all of the pressure of, if you screw this up again, you're going to starve. And it was super uncomfortable. And so, like, I encourage most people not to be an entrepreneur. Don't be a dude. It's not my story isn't everyone's story, but it's a lot of people's story. And a lot of it ends in no money and I got to start over and I feel like a failure. And now I'm going to go get a job. Look, it's only designed for like 2 to 5% of people statistically.
Yeah.
And so, look, like my kids, you said I'm raising them entrepreneurially. That's true. But there's a high probability that none of them will do this. And that is completely okay. I'm not encouraging them to do, I'm encouraging them to be leaders and critical thinkers and action takers. And whatever vocational direction they choose, that will serve them well. But this path, like, dude, Justin, I got this great idea. I'm not going to work for somebody else for 40 hours. I'm going to work for myself for 80 and get this, and I'm going to make less money. It's going to be awesome. You win. Like, dude, that's entrepreneurship, man.
Yeah.
And then with all the risk, so, because it was painful but I just, that's how I responded. That's how I found a way to survive. It's how I navigated the world because of how my brain apparently naturally operates. When I'm not thinking, I'm just in like, I got to figure this out mode. That's the direction I went.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny. Like I think we talked about this when we connected before, but I work like 10 to 15 hours a week. Right? Like I've built my life around this whole idea of like I can make
I
more
love
and
and hate
less.
you.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing and it's a curse, right? But the kids come home from school and I'm like on the couch or whatever. And I have to
Yeah.
say to them, like, I want you to know that this is not normal.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to work really hard, whether it's your own business or working for somebody. I've done both, right? Like when I started out as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, I was doing the 80 hours a week, right? If I wasn't at my computer sun up and sun down, I was failing at something. And so you have to almost like, look, this is a result of a lot of work. This is where we're at now. I hope you can get there one day. But this isn't realistic type of conversation. And it's so fascinating, right? Like you are somebody who you love the work, right? I just asked you if you were ready for 4th of July. You're like, oh yeah, yeah, I'll probably work still, but I'll have some fun too. Where I'm like, dude, I'm checked out. Like probably Thursday. I think I have a call at 11 o'clock on Thursday, and then I'm done, right? Like, and I won't.
You got to get prepared for Friday, right? You need to like unwind on Thursday, half of Thursday to be ready to be present Friday. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, I mean, most Fridays I don't do much of anything. Like you can't find a calendar to get a call with me. You can't do any of that stuff on a Friday. But it's one of those things that like you design the life that you want, and there's something in you that likes the pressure. Where did that come from?
I think it's just at this point, I think it's just more of what I know. From the time I was young, I've always lived in what I just call like pressure culture. I got my first degree black belt when I was 7, and in Taekwondo, and so I remember, like I don't know, being a kid and just like not wanting to do stuff. And both my parents grew up on farms in different states in the country, and so I call it just sun up, sun down mentality. And I think a lot of that was caught. And I've got 100 and something degree fever, 102 or something. And I sat in the back as a 7-year-old, and I was the highest rank and I was the youngest, and so I was the last to go. And so I had to sit there just about 2 hours or over 2 hours and waiting. And then I went up, and I was the only one like testing alone because it was for the highest rank at the time for that age. And I tested and passed. Mr. Baden, like you're up, and I'm like, sir, yes, sir. Because I've got like strep throat, and I got strep throat a lot when I was younger, and just had a high fever, and so, but there's there's pros and cons to all things, right? Oh, that's so hard. It's like, I don't know, like I get it. I'm young and I have a fever, and maybe I didn't have to. Like the stakes weren't super high. We probably could have just skipped it, but at the same time, it's also kind of empowering or good to know. It's like, yeah, but you're not dying, In today's world, it's like how inconsiderate you were sick and you were around kids. Like it's
COVID,
just like
COVID changed that conversation. Yeah.
It's super different now, and how that goes. Like, but fast forward, like I'm in my, my agency launching the company, and, look, there's, hours and learning curve and things that I've built 4 different companies, 4 different industries. Like I'm not freaking Superman. I'm a really slow reader, unfortunately. And I learned through doing so. I got to do a lot of reps in a short period of time to boost skill. And so basically, like I had a fever and I'm like throwing up and I'm in agency and this is happening in between meetings. I'm like sleeping under my desk, or just kind of resting in between meetings. And cause I'm just 100 plus degree fever. So there's kind of like that driving me. I'm like, look, like I get that I'm not, well, keep my distance, wash my hands. But to me, I always thought that was being reliable and showing up. So you're saying, hey, where do you like, what's up with the pressure thing? I don't know, man. Like that's just kind of for better or for worse. Like that's what I've known. Like unless your arm's broken and you can't function, or there's certain cases where it's like, okay, like there's not really much to gain here. This is a little insane. It's like I'm not advocating to myself or anyone to be like unwise. But at the same time, like we're a lot stronger than we think we are. You know what I mean? Like we're used to eating every day and not hunting for food, and we sleep our 8 hours or enough each night. It's like I don't, I've tested myself. I was like, how many hours can I work straight without sleeping before my brain starts going crazy? How long can I go water only without food? And I mean, I've
What
only
are
done
what are
72
the
hours,
answers to
but
those?
around like 40 to 42 hours for my body, or where things are, I probably could stretch things, but it's just like that wasn't the point of the exercise. The point was just like, I don't know if we really need to go into push mode and we need to focus, like how long can I focus before I like check out? And about around 40 to 42 hours is roughly the thing. Like you'd start working, Thursday morning or something, and you work all Thursday, you work all through the night, you work most of Friday till like 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, and then you're out. Yeah, that's super weird. You're like, Chris, you're an idiot. And I'm like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't do that regularly because I mean it just needs to be like pretty intense if you're gonna do that. But if you dude, look at Elon, like look at Trump. The dude's 70 and like works harder than runs faster than most of us. Even
Yeah, they
Ram
say
Dave
he
Ram
sleeps like 3 hours a night or something.
and it's anyway, so I just that to me, I'm like, that's kind of interesting. Like it's also good to know. I'm like, dude, if I need to go, like I got that. But
Yeah.
I don't like doing it, and I don't like. I can't remember the last time I've done a 40-hour shift or gone days without eating with just water. But it's nice to know, like, if I don't want to eat freaking some food or I'm trying to kill my diet, it's like I have dominion. I have, ownership over my own mind and my drive. Like I can say no to
Yeah.
food. I can say, there's some um confidence that builds. Anyway,
No, I get it, man. We actually, myself and some people in my mastermind a couple weeks ago did a 72-hour water fast.
right on.
And, it was one of those things like, oh, well, I think we had a guest mentor on the call and she brought up that she just did a 72-hour water fast. Hers was like religious, spiritual reasons. And we're like, oh, let's
Yeah.
just see if we could do it. And I'll tell you what, man, there was probably only two moments throughout the 3 days where I was like, oh, man, I'm really hungry right now. Like it
Yeah.
was really surprising. Like when I finally broke it, I broke it with like a smoothie and some cottage cheese, and I was like, I don't even really want this. Like it was an
Yeah.
interesting like kind of dichotomy. Whereas you're usually programmed to say, oh, this is the time to eat, I should eat, and it was a weird kind of like you said, it's a rewiring. Like you don't need that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not necessary. And it was fascinating. I felt really good, man. I was sharp, like mentally,
Yeah.
like it was
Yeah.
crazy. And I think that also speaks to the type of food we have in our country
Yeah,
specifically.
man.
That like that the fact that food can completely fog your brain instead of
It's a
fuel your
whole
brain.
other
And like,
conversation.
oh yeah, of course, that's a whole rabbit hole
Oh,
conversation.
dude,
They're
let's
fixing
go.
some of it. They're fixing some of it.
Here's a fun like lightweight thought on the food thing. We just started getting wheat berries. Do you know what those are?
I have no idea.
It's like the berry. It's the grain before it's grinded into flour. And so from the time, dude, I don't know this stuff, and I'm married to a part hippie, and so
So am I.
so it's like we got to get a grinder. I was like, what's that? And anyway, she explains all the tools, and here I was like, all right, cool. Like it equals having fresh bread in the house, and I get to eat it. I'm game. And so anyway, we just tried this. We just made like our second or third like fresh loaf of bread, but from the time you like grind the berry, it turns into flour. They did studies like I think rats. There's probably multiple of them out there, and there's probably someone like, yeah, and they do this and that. Like I don't know all the things yet, but some of the ones that are interesting to me is like 15 days later, if just it being 15 years old, the flower versus being fresh, already a drastic difference in quality of how that like sits in your body. Think about like strawberries or apples or like fruit that like sits out, for
Yeah.
15 days versus just being fresh. And so I was like, dude, 15 days, what's sitting on the shelf? Not that people need to be panicked. I've been eating whatever bread from Costco for years, you know. And it is what it is. Like I function. I know everyone's different or has different sensitivities. At the same time, just out of curiosity, let's go super fresh. How do we feel? What happens? And we've done this with water. Well, not all water is created equal. But if you're putting bread and water in your body the most, how does that affect your thinking, your sleeping? Like all these things kind of like accumulate to, I don't know, like if you have more energy and you feel great and you do that consistently, that leads to different conversations and relationships and connection that lead to more new thoughts. And so I kind of view it as this compounding thing, not just like, well, I feel slightly better. It's not fully worth it. It's like, no, like stack all of them. And it's kind of a cool thing. So anyway, there's a little wheatberry rabbit trail.
No, yeah, dude, and it's funny. I just had somebody on the podcast. She's the CEO of a company called Energy Bits, and it's essentially algae in
Okay.
little tablet form, and it's like the most like best source. It's not overheated,
Mm,
like all the things you're supposed to, right? Spirulina and chlorella. And like
mhm.
this one was talking about all the supplements. So my wife and I get our blood drawn every 6 months, and it gives us like 200 different markers, including our biological age and all these things. And so my wife is literally stopping all of her supplements and just going with the algae for the next. I think she said her next test is in like 6 weeks. Just doing the algae to see what it does, right? So it's always interesting to kind of test and evolve, like how are we feeding our body, especially if like we like our life and we don't want to die at 65 years old. But it's also the same in business, right? Always constantly testing new things, trying new things. And I'm sure that's what you do in what you've done in your past businesses and your current business, FlowChat. Talk a little bit about kind of where FlowChat came from and why is that your baby right now, and how long are you thinking it's going to be your baby before a new one comes around? Not
Mm.
including your kids, but your business babies.
Yeah. No. I'm with you. Yeah. So flowchat.com is a sales tool. It helps you sell more of your stuff. And it does this particularly on social media. And this isn't a content thing or marketing thing. I love all my marketing friends. I love all the, like, I like all the different parts of business. This is a sales tool, meaning it helps you do two things specifically on social. Find leads for free. Find leads for free. Your ICP, your ideal customer profile. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on LinkedIn, they're on X, they're on TikTok, we're on 15 different social media platforms with FlowChat. So whatever platform or platforms you love, we work with those and we find where your customers are. We help with solve that problem. Okay. And then in a click, you can import those profiles, which are your leads. Yay, you've got a big sales list right now. A lot of people are, doing paid ads. They're doing PPC or, pay per click or SEO. They're doing events. They're doing all kinds of things. They're paying for email lists, whatever to get leads. Any business that doesn't have a consistent source of lead generation is a time bomb. You got to solve this problem. You have to feed the beast. And the ones that create a great system stay in the game of business. You know why? Because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
That's why, Justin. I've like sales is more of my competency. I started in B2B commission only sales 15 years ago or more. And like, I'm like, dude, like every month I start at zero and I'm still commission only to be fair. It's just for a lot more people, not just my marriage and family, but my whole team and partners and vendors and affiliates and whatever. You get the idea. So the point is, that's what it does. It gets leads constantly. Now, the second thing is the most important. It nurtures those leads. Well, what does that mean? We have these organic DM campaigns, direct message campaigns, where it's not just sending direct messages, but it's also endorsing their skills or liking their most recent post. Or we have some great AI commenting features. And so we're able to engage with this leads profile to the point where we show up in their notification inbox. And then how we approach them and quote sell them in DMs is not to sell them. We don't we do a lot. We've done millions. Last year alone, our clients did over 20 million in sales in
Wow.
DMs, right? And so, but well, Chris, you're saying sell in DMs without selling. Absolutely. We focus on signals, not sales. Sales is taking, signal is inviting. So what are signals? You're inviting them, you're meeting where they're at, and you're inviting them to take the next step in your customer journey that you've designed for them. So if you're just meeting somebody for the first time, I don't say, "Hey, Justin, great seeing you at this event. It looks like you have a pulse and you're alive. Here's my buy link. What do you say?" Like that's not how I talk to you, but that's how a lot of people are DMing somebody. And
Yeah,
so
it's
signal
exhausting.
based would be like, "Oh, I see we like hang out with some similar people. Let's connect more." That would be an invite. Or maybe you invite somebody into your free community where there's a bunch of resources that solve the specific problem they're struggling with. A free community with free lead magnet and tool. Now, they need to be good, right? But you're not asking for the sale. You're inviting them to the next step. And so we have frameworks and we have, in fact, we just wrote a 20,000 plus word playbook. It's not out yet and not promoting it right now and not saying the name and blah, blah, blah. But later this year, it'll come out and we've condensed, the SOPs and the screenshots and like how to just, you can do all this manually, right? FlowChat does these two things on autopilot. It automates getting a lead. Like right now I'm talking to you, but I have on all the platforms leads being imported. And then they're being added to these organic campaigns, both inbound and outbound, right? I just described outbound, but I haven't even got into inbound campaigns yet. And because this is the activity, this is the revenue generating activity that I'm responsible to produce for the company. Now, just because I'm responsible for it doesn't mean I have to do it. And that's why I built FlowChat is for my team. I built automations to help my team do it faster. And so gone are the days of driving city to city or door to door and cold calling and, I did those things for years. And I was like, it'd be awesome. Never doing this again. And I don't code. Like I'm not a non-technical co-founder, but I was like, dude, I just don't want to do this. So I got innovative and, that pain inspired solving my own problem through FlowChat. And, we're about 4 years in now. And I don't know, man, like this one is like productizing myself, like this is how I'm most useful to me and those around me. And I don't know, I might be with this one for a while.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I actually was just earlier today interviewed on a podcast about masterminds with Chris, actually. So you know him as well. So I
Nice.
was just
Yeah, yeah.
he just interviewed for his
He just
podcast.
texted us this morning.
Oh, nice. And so yeah, we were talking about how filled out my mastermind and also sold retreats and so on and so forth without a website.
Yeah.
Because it's humanizing the process. Now you're automating the humanization, which I know you're going to speak to it, which we'll get there. But
Yeah.
like,
No, it's a good point you brought up. Keep going.
and I think a lot of people, and I just want you to kind of, people are thinking right now, like, oh, this is just taking away the human aspect and it's automating what should have been human. And people are worried about that with AI. What does that actually look like?
Okay. Yeah. So this is super important question. We automate low skill, high time consuming revenue generating activity. That's the finding leads, nurturing the leads, engaging with, sending a direct message, sending a follow-up message if they don't reply. But once they reply, now the business kicks in. So we automate the revenue generating activity. We don't automate rapport. And so, because look, we use AI. I'm a fan of it. It's already done all kinds of good and bad things. It's going to continue to do all kinds of good and bad things because humans are using it.
Yeah.
Just like any other tool in the world, money, weapons, whatever. Humans come in and their intent and their creativity, goes all kinds of directions. All right. All this being said, I haven't used or interacted with a AI bot from a customer acquisition standpoint that I'm like, ooh, I love buying this way. Like what's the last thing I've bought? Well, being sold like a business service with an AI. Like I know it's happening. We have people in FlowChat that are doing 200 to 300 booked calls a month,
Wow.
all with bots, right? Like it's happening. What I'm saying, I'm not saying it's not out there. I'm not saying the tech's not there. I'm saying I just don't like it. I'm saying that I don't personally buy that way. I don't want my brand or company experience to be that at this time. I do think it's going to be solved. We are testing all kinds of our own solutions in the background with multiple models. And I do think I have a really good idea of how to make it awesome and solve it. And well, I think we'll see that come to market probably more like Q1, Q2 of 2026. Um, and there's like all kinds of depth and nerdy granularity to the answer to that. But the thing is this, I just I'm not going to license something that I don't feel amazing about and use myself. And but when I really at this point I feel when that day comes, um, I think it's easy to just be upfront with people. And I think more people are already talking to bots like in ChatGPT an incredible amount today. I was at this other event. There's three different small groups right throughout the day, and I was like leading one of the tables, and I asked all three different groups, and there's probably like at least 15 to 25 people per group, average age maybe 35, 40, and this is like midday, 12:30 to 1. How many people, show of hands, how many people have already used AI, like talk to AI today? Every single group, 70% or more raised their hand. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And not even just message, like voice talk. And this wasn't like a room full of marketers. This was like parents and family. And like I used it to like look up a recipe and and so and not to make fun of those people, I totally do the same thing, but I'm just saying like it's being used for all types of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. We right now though, like the human experience as that happens, I would just let people know up front, hey, this is a bot. This is AI Chris. This is AI Justin. And he's smart, faster, and whatever. And you can ask for human whenever you want. So I think there's ways we'll manage that. But as of now, we don't automate rapport. We're just doing all like literally we're replacing 2 to 6 hours minimum of prospecting work per day per profile.
Yeah, and
And so
that's the
you're
hardest
able,
part.
yeah,
It really is to find your perfect client. If you're doing it manually, a lot of times it is the hardest part. And there's always been different solutions. Some work, some don't work. I think FlowChat is such a fascinating approach to it, right? Because I think in a way you are humanizing even that part of it, because it leads to that conversation that probably both of those individuals are looking for, even if
yeah.
they're unaware they're looking for it. And I think that's super fascinating. By the way, isn't ChatGPT like the fourth or fifth most visited website on the internet, like daily?
Ooh, so I don't
It's
know
something like
is the
that.
short answer, but it's top 10. Like, I mean, like SEO, there's a massive push for SEO. People are finding businesses more through chat than they are through Google or whatever, some other chat. Like it's definitely the number is growing daily because that's where the attention is shifting towards.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So I want to ask you a question that I asked every single person on this show. It's a two-part question. The first part is, what is your definition of success? The second part is, what are three things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Okay. Say the first one again.
Your definition of success.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. Um, for me specifically, um, I didn't, the way I'd answer this is I didn't choose to wake up today. I was given life. And so I was given a certain level of intelligence and health and energy and creativity and focus and all the things. And so for me, my definition of success would be being a good steward of all those things. It'd be, looking to my perspective, Christ and him saying, well done, good and faithful servant. Like that'd be success. On more of a like, human or pragmatic standpoint, it'd be giving my kids a hug and looking them in the eye and them just saying, I love you, dad. I want to be around you and my wife as well. It's faith, marriage, and family in that order. Um, but those are the things that by far, uh, second to none, mean the most to me.
I love it. And what are three things you do every day to ensure that success?
Ooh, there's only one real answer to this, Justin, and it's your bank account and it's your calendar. That's the filter. So if we pull up my calendar, um, the priorities that I showed you, that is how I spend my time. I have my quiet time first, for faith and get my download and instruction. And then it moves to marriage and family, and then it moves to business. And how we spend money, how we communicate with the resources that we're currently in charge of. Um, you know, we're not perfect over here, but I'm constantly, how do I ensure it? What do we do? I'm constantly looking at my bank account, my calendar, because those are telling me what I really value. And it's a pain in the freaking butt, Justin. But when someone told me that, I was like, I feel like I was gut punched, and it just kept gut punching me. And I was like, I can't the toothpaste is out of the tube. I can't like unsee these things.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it was David Meltzer who said, he's a pudgier guy and has a belly at least. And he said if I told you that my health is my number one priority, you could easily see that that's not true, right? And then if you look at my calendar, it'll also tell you that it's not true, right? Like
Yep.
and so you look at the idea of if it's what's first in your calendar, what's the first thing you put in, and then what follows through after that, I think is so it's just absolutely key, right? Like the first thing before I agree to anything is I go to my wife and go, what do we have going on? Right? What's going on this month
Yeah.
that I need to be at, that I need to know about, all those things. Because I don't want to miss the plays or the dance recitals or the track meets or the any
Yeah.
of those things, right? Like that's first and nothing else can overcome it. Now, have I slipped up and all of a sudden something's on my calendar during, my stepson's track meet? Yes, but I cancel that thing that's covering that time of the track or I reschedule it, right? Because that is what's
The,
first is
the
family.
filter. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt, right? And then everything else kind of trickles away from that. So I love that answer. But I'll say this, man. I would love to hear this from you, right? Like you've built a lot of things. You've built a lot of businesses. Obviously, you're building a family. All these things. I want you to think about you at the end of your life, and everything you've built has disappeared. Any podcast interview is no longer on this earth. The businesses don't exist, and you can only be remembered for one sentence. What would you want that sentence to be?
Damn. It's just some heavy hitter questions. Um, um, he led with heart. He was present. He loved. Um, he left every room that he was a part of better than he found it.
Love it.
Um, probably somewhere in there.
No, dude, I love it. So I wrap up every single interview with the same question, but before we get there, let's get to the good stuff. How can people learn more about FlowChat, start working with you so they can generate those leads and blow up their business?
Yeah, a great place to start is flowchat.com. It's FlowChat.com, just as you would expect, flowchat.com. We have a free Facebook group. We've got a great YouTube channel with, I don't know, hundreds of videos, all trainings and frameworks. Anything that we've done, we have like all versions of it, right? Free versions and paid versions, etc. Um, and you can always just reach out on social, like send a message on any of the. I love LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I like it. Cool. Well, like we're there. Just find the one you like and go message us there.
I will never message you on LinkedIn. That is my least favorite platform of all. I understand it's the best for business, but it is my least favorite.
Yeah,
And I say it all the time.
And while you're saying that, someone's like, "I'm on LinkedIn every day and I love it." And I just came to this place. I'm like, you know what? Just whatever you want to do. Like I'm on WhatsApp, I'm on Voxer, I'm on Telegram, I'm like everywhere. I don't know,
I love
but
it.
I've built systems around it.
Like I said, you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think I don't like LinkedIn because in a previous life, when I was an employee, I worked for a
Mm-hmm.
staffing agency, and like they made me make a LinkedIn account, and they're like, "You will use this all the
Mm,
time." Like you think, obviously, staffing, it's probably their number one tool.
yeah,
So they're like, "You must be on this. You must do this," and like I didn't ever like. I wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was like 19. So anytime I had a job, if I had to publicly face that I had this job, like, and that be my personality, it was just total cringe. And so I think that's probably why still to this day I hate
Amazing.
LinkedIn. But I'm on there as myself, not as a staffing guy. So you can still find me on there. Just message me somewhere else because I won't reply on LinkedIn. So I
Awesome.
wrap up, like I said, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. Since the show is called The Growth Now Movement, that question is: in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
Oh man, I mean, the top of mind one is parenting. At this point, it's definitely 24/7. Most consuming, but it's like there's different seasons of challenge that you're going through or growth that you're going through, and like our physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, the different aspects of life. And look, they're not separate categories. They all affect each other and are interwoven. And so, where a lot of my focus is, um, in building family is informing a lot of the other ones. So certainly the dad bucket.
I love it, man. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey, dude. This has been great. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.